you really hate Sean Combs.
Why would they be thinking that?
Because of the things that you post on Instagram,
Yeah,
because of the...
Look at this. And let's stop for a second and do say that I hated him enough to hire his kids. And we've never done anything to each other. So it's just competitive energy and things that you say about other artists while you're in hip.
Because there's a point where it kind of gets aggressive. He says, like, you're going to find out, like how I'll handle this. Like, and that's an attorney want to be combative with another attorney. That's not like your publicist would say those things.
But one time walking in the studio and, it was like a small gap and, bleak beans. Everybody was in there, and I was like, man, I'm telling you, man, y'all got a chance right now. Just flood it, put out a lot of music because 50 Cent
behind closed doors.
50, the way you run, this cannot be all that you have. Is there other stuff that you just have not shown?
Yeah, well, everything couldn't make it was 4 episodes.
Right.
So it was a lot.
Sources familiar
lies in what it allegedly implies that Jay-Z was aware of questionable behavior happening around him and chose not to intervene. More troubling, they suggest it raises the possibility that he may have benefited from remaining silent while others were harmed. If these claims were ever substantiated, the consequences would extend beyond mere lapses in judgment and into serious legal implications. What remains unclear is the scope of the situation. How many people may have been affected?
How many victims?
There was none for her.
How many victims potentially do you think there could be?
Thousands. I've talked to hundreds that I deal with still myself. I have 3 victims right now who are willing to give testimony about not only what Mr. Carter has done to them, but his wife as well. They're a nasty little couple. They do nasty.
Gene Deal, Diddy's former bodyguard.
Gene Deal, Diddy's former bodyguard, added weight to the narrative by asserting that Jay-Z and Diddy were far closer than Jay-Z's legal team later suggested. According to Deal, they were not distant associates, but connected closely enough to be aware of what was happening behind the scenes. That context is what fueled conversations about potential legal exposure. The claims imply Jay-Z didn't simply overlook warning signs. They allege he was aware, chose to remain silent, and that individuals within that circle were influenced or pressured to keep certain matters hidden. If substantiated, such actions could raise concerns related to interference or coordinated concealment. When Jaguar Wright later voiced similar allegations in public interviews, those clips were swiftly removed from multiple platforms. She continued speaking publicly nonetheless. Not long afterward, her son was tragically killed in a shooting, a devastating event that some observers reference, while also emphasizing that no verified or legal connection to her statements has ever been established.
Because he was my son.
He died because of your...
He was targeted because he's my son.
He
was working on his EP. I bought Philadelphia for him so he didn't have to sign to a company because I knew what it was going to do. He interned at Roc Nation. And they approached him to sacrifice me. I saw his death when he was 19. I moved us here to stop it, to prevent it, to avoid it. They take them anyway to show you what the harm is. Giovanni, his death is why I do what I do.
Clips reportedly vanished, discussions were allegedly wiped, and the same pattern of quiet removal is said to have followed the documentary as well. Now, the story is resurfacing with claims that 50 Cent is digging back into the past and bringing Jaguar Wright forward to publicly revisit what she describes as a long trail of serious misconduct. Among her most explosive assertions are questions surrounding Aaliyah's death, not as proven fact, but as concerns she insists were never thoroughly examined. When Wright speaks on Aaliyah, she repeatedly returns to one powerful point. Why was there never a full, transparent investigation, not limited, not brushed aside, but, in her view, never truly pursued with the depth such a tragedy deserved?
Hype was never questioned. Lenny Kravitz made a statement, and it was never publicized. She was unconscious. She didn't choose to get on that plane. There were phone calls made. There are witnesses who signed NDAs. Why would you need to sign a non-disclosure agreement about a plane crash and what happened leading up to it? Please, someone answer that.
Do you feel like
why the fuck would you need to sign? A nigga don't ask about a plane crash if it was accidental.
Do you feel like...
Riddle me that. Riddle me that. Work with me here in this moment.
And I'm going to ask you.
A plane crash should be accidental.
Should be.
Why would any testimony about what happened leading up to it need to be covered under a non-disclosure agreement if there wasn't?
From her perspective, NDAs have nothing to do with protecting privacy. She portrays them as mechanisms designed to bury the truth. Jaguar Wright claims that more than 25 confidentiality agreements were discreetly signed and financially settled in the aftermath of Aaliyah's death. According to her, those agreements were intended to silence what witnesses saw, what they knew, and what allegedly took place before the plane ever left the ground. That's why she keeps circling back to a single question: why? And as she presses that question further, she ultimately brings Jay-Z's name into the conversation.
Now I'm going to ask you, why would non-disclosure agreements need to be signed for an accident?
Okay.
There were over 25 non-disclosure agreements cashed out and recorded regarding the death of that beautiful girl and every other human being that died on that plane with her. What the fuck? Would you need a nigga don't ask for that? And Diddy had Hype Williams on the balls. Belly was a money pit.
Question.
And Jay-Z got 10 free videos out of Williams.
From Jaguar's perspective, nothing about it was accidental. She suggests that influence was traded, silence was incentivized, and those with insider knowledge were financially persuaded to remain quiet. In her view, that's precisely why Jay-Z's name rarely surfaces in public discussions about Aaliyah's
Conversations surrounding Aaliyah's passing.
Sean Carter is responsible for enacting Hype Williams to put Aaliyah on a faulty plane to move her out the way as punishment for rejecting him, and so he could level up Beyoncé, who was struggling. Let's just say allegedly that happened. Now I want you to think about 106th and Park with Mary J. Blige. Free, who is a victim of Sean Carter.
Yeah.
Mary J. Blige, who is a victim of Sean Combs, are sitting there talking about the death of Aaliyah amongst each other. Think about that. You got a Diddy victim, you got a Jay-Z victim, and you got a superstar gone. They know what happened. And yet, they had to sit there and have that conversation like they didn't know who did it.
Jaguar Wright's perspective is blunt and weighty. She contends that if Aaliyah's death had truly been a simple tragic accident, there would have been no need for enforced silence, legal constraints, or financial settlements afterward. She highlights Jay-Z's rapid rise in the years that followed, alongside the sudden disappearance of public questioning, as evidence that his role deserves serious scrutiny. After Tupac and Biggie's deaths, the race for rap's top spot narrowed primarily to Nas and Jay-Z. From Jaguar's view, this period marked a turning point where the scales began tipping sharply in Jay-Z's favor. She asserts that Nas slowly lost ground and faded from the spotlight, while Jay-Z's momentum only grew with each release and business move, cementing his dominance. During that same era, Jay-Z collaborated closely with R. Kelly on multiple songs and tours, and Jaguar claims both men also had ties within Aaliyah's circle. In her assessment, these weren't random intersections, but overlapping connections in a tightly woven, interlinked industry network.
These weren't separate paths crossing by chance, but overlapping ties inside one deeply interconnected industry world.
Saw Jay-Z. And he was working with R. Kelly, and they were making so many records together. You know, they made all of those records together. They both fucked Aaliyah. They shared so much in common. You know? And then there was a falling out. And that's like it never happened. Whoever talks about best of the both worlds, best of both worlds. Nobody talks about that.
Nobody talks about this shit.
Nobody talks about that project.
That nigga swept that smooth under the rug.
Why?
Yeah, we know why.
You know what? I got a better question.
Yeah.
How valuable is a Biggie Smalls verse?
Yeah.
Puffy has been making money off of Biggie's name for longer than Biggie was alive. People keep forgetting he hadn't turned 25 yet. He was still 24 when he died. It's been over 25 years. Fucking Puffy has been making money on that boy's name longer than he can live. It supported all of Bad Boy. His catalog. Clearly, a Biggie Smalls verse is very valuable. Am I wrong? Does anybody disagree with me?
No, that's facts.
So then what the fuck happened to the commission? What happened to that album?
Right.
It was recorded. It was being mixed and mastered upon Biggie's death. It was supposed to have came out that summer after Biggie's album because Biggie's album was slated. He died a week and a half before his album came out. Then the commission was supposed to come out, and that was supposed to be his exit from Bad Boy. And then starting his own company. So tell me something. And this ain't me being an asshole. I think everybody that knows Sean Carter knows that he will slump anyone in any relationship.
She points to what she perceives as a recurring pattern of Jay-Z separating from the very people who helped lift him to success. Using Dame Dash as a key example, she argues that the end of their partnership wasn't merely a business dispute, but a deliberate strategy, one that showcased Jay-Z's drive to amass power, consolidate control, and safeguard the empire he was building, even if it meant turning away those who once stood
trying to sell something, him and his lawyers, Alex Shapiro, putting a false lawsuit on me, like, you know, like that, devaluing anything that I have or trying to sell. But, you know, or even down to like, we were selling Rockware, right, for like 400 million or whatever. I was going to make $40 million. And right before Tommy Hilfiger signs the papers, he makes an announcement saying that he's not f***ing with Rockware, that he's only f***ing with S. Carter. The whole shit up. And I just feel like he did that only because I was going to make $40 million. Like, he just couldn't see, like, they get so mad if I'm going to make money off them. Like, every time I could have made a really big check, he's always stepped in and intentionally f***ed it up. Every time. Listen, don't ask me, ask the rest of the industry. Like, you know, that's why I got the f*** away. I mean, one of the reasons. Like Jay, I like the way I would look at it, like if you could compare him to like a character now, I'd say he's like the Penguin. He's like ruthless like that with his friends or people that help him. At least that's how.
Jaguar then brings
Awa steers the conversation back to Aaliyah, observing that her death came at a moment when several major careers were in flux. She notes that in the aftermath, Jay-Z's influence and visibility kept expanding, while other figures slowly faded from view. After years of watching the industry, she says certain patterns became impossible to ignore. Through every controversy and upheaval, the same name consistently emerged unscathed, while others
And then they
fell
brought
away.
Rich Harrison in, and you know, kind of think it's crazy right now. She liked posing with him in pictures for Page Six. Aaliyah didn't. She fell in love with Dane. And Aaliyah's gone, and you know. You have to start asking yourself questions after being in this business for this long. If you're a halfway intelligent person, when do you start questioning how lucky some motherfuckers keep getting?
Right.
Is it really a conspiracy if the same person keeps benefiting off the same kind of tragedy over and over and over again? So to answer your question, I'm sure he's always going to be a billionaire, and I'm sure he's got great things to happen. I mean, look, he's got the job with the NFL. He's hooking all his friends up with the halftime shows. I mean, think about it. Think about the halftime shows. Jennifer Lopez, Shakira, all Rock Nation. Now Rihanna, and then we had the whole LA thing, which of course he was involved in that, and then they pulled Mary J. Blige off to, you know, make sure she got that money for Kendall, and you know, they had that whole moment, you know, but all he's doing is using his friends and the people that he fucks with, or at least the people that signs his non-disclosure agreements. He keeps getting them the Super Bowl gigs. So I mean, like, he's doing all kinds of stuff, you know, and I do not begrudge him. It's just, if you got to do the kind of things that he's done to get where he's gotten, well, fuck it.
Jaguar Wright also highlights what she calls a long overlooked issue involving Jay-Z and very young artists, pointing to Rihanna as a key example. She asserts that when Rihanna first entered the music industry, she was still a minor but was treated more as a commercial asset than a teenager in need of guidance and protection. Wright claims that influential figures within Jay-Z's circle played a major role in placing her in high-profile industry events, private gatherings, and other settings she considers inappropriate for someone so young. She frames this not as coincidence, but as part of a deliberate pattern revealing how young talent was managed behind the scenes.
Explained how Rihanna was sold to Jay-Z at 16 years old. She explained how it was super sketchy that Rihanna got brought to America at only 16 years old without any parental supervision, and how she auditioned for Jay-Z at 3 o'clock in the morning. She explained how it didn't make sense that Rihanna's parents would let her fly by herself after just meeting Evan Roberts all the way to America to meet with Jay-Z in the middle of the night. And she alleged that Rihanna's dad got a $500,000 payout for letting this happen. She alleged since this was all out of the blue, Rihanna would have had to flown on a private plane to get from Barbados to America because she wouldn't have had a visa and her parents were not around with her to fly to America. And Rihanna even explained how Jay-Z would not let her leave until she signed the recording contract, and the label locked her in the office until 3 a.m.
You've gone through some big changes since you've been signed at Def Jam. Can you tell me what are the biggest changes you've gone through from St. Michael's, Barbados until now you being a superstar?
Well, one of them for sure is being away from my friends and family. After growing up around my mom and all my friends for 17 years, and then moving to a big city with no one because all my family and friends are still in Barbados. So after moving to a big city with, you know, basically around strangers, that was the hardest thing for me to cope with at first.
Are you lonely sometimes?
I wasn't lonely, but I really do miss my family and my friends.
And a lot of people have speculated this for years about Rihanna because people found it super weird. Right before Jay-Z signed Rihanna, he was working heavily with a 16-year-old Tierra Marie who signed to Def Jam by L.A. Reid. And And after a while, there was rumors circulating all over that Tierra Marie and Rihanna actually had a fallout because Rihanna's career skyrocketed and Tierra Marie got let go from Def Jam. And allegedly, Tierra Marie is the Jane Doe that is suing Diddy and L.A. Reid for SA when she was just 16 years.
Jonathan Hay, who worked in public relations at the time, corroborates parts of the story from his own perspective. He remembers that many around Rihanna assumed she was older than she really was, and she was frequently brought into clubs and high-level industry settings that required age verification. It wasn't until one evening, when she couldn't produce identification, that people realized she was just 17. Jaguar Wright contends that by that point, the damage had already been done. She says Rihanna's early team, those she views as protective and grounded, were gradually pushed out and replaced with new management, while anyone who raised concerns quietly began losing opportunities. Hay frames this as a common industry tactic, not an outright ban, but a silent freeze, where jobs disappear, doors close without explanation, and communication simply stops.
But a silent freeze where jobs dry up, doors close without explanation, and communication simply stops.
Almost blacklisted.
Oh no, absolutely blacklisted. They didn't tell you you were blacklisted. It's just the jobs that you used to get easy. All of a sudden there were other people. There was a new direction. There were restaurants you used to eat at that were always sold out. Your table wasn't available. It is the shunning.
Yeah, exactly.
Social shunning. And then when people that you know who you are, start talking about you behind your back in ways that they never did. And all of a sudden their career begins to elevate.
Yeah.
It's social engineering. And the sad thing about it is, every last rapper that you said fucked you over also happens to be a government informant.
Yeah.
Why would you think that you had a chance against these people when everything that they do, the government seems to ignore? It seems like they were untouchable because you didn't know that they had a deal.
Right.
They had permission to act like assholes and never have to be accountable for it, or so the government said, so they get to fuck over people like you and people like me and people like Aaliyah and people like Rihanna, people like Lauryn Hill, and people like Rakim, people like Nas. You know what I'm speaking.
Yeah. But even back in 2005, when we had spoke to the FBI,
yeah,
I didn't think of her like,
see if you were willing to testify against him, so they would know whether or not they were going to have to move you.
Jaguar also alleges that Jay-Z filmed videos overseas with very young models and used his influence to avoid scrutiny. She claims that silence was enforced through strict contracts, confidentiality agreements, and financial leverage. More broadly, she argues that minors and emerging artists are often the most vulnerable in the music industry, as entering binding deals can result in them being treated more like commodities than individuals. From her perspective, Rihanna was one of the young talents who became ensnared in this system.
Of her career, who took such great care to get her there. She shouldn't have been stripped from her team.
Right.
From her protection, no different than a rose. They went into the garden and they stripped the thorns and they pulled it out, and they've been ripping petals off piece by piece, year for year.
Correct.
Change that.
Yeah. Yes, ma'am.
For her.
Yeah.
And for every other child girl like her.
And you know, you're doing, listen, you're doing the same thing that Dream Hampton did when she laid out the R. Kelly case for the prosecutors to finally, after 20 years, go and charge him.
You know, Dream is one of Jay-Z's girls too.
Yeah. But I'm just saying the way that
she
she...
to do that right.
Are you serious?
Yeah. Yeah.
Because you wanted to take him out?
Her to do Surviving R. Kelly and Bringing Me To. Just like he loaned his lawyer Spiro to Tupac's family so that they can get to the bottom of his unalivement.
She argues that
she claims that Jay-Z often occupied positions where he could protect others. Yet, in her view, people were instead sidelined, silenced, or replaced to preserve momentum and profits. According to her, anyone perceived as an obstacle was simply removed. She ties this mindset to what she believes has driven 50 Cent's recent efforts to call out Jay-Z, suggesting it stems from experiences early in 50's career. That treatment, she argues, fostered frustration that gradually turned into deep resentment. To understand the context, she points to an appearance roughly 16 years ago on Tim Westwood's show, where 50 spoke candidly about industry politics and tensions involving Jay-Z. During that interview, 50 described Jay-Z as smooth, strategic, and always composed. Yet he added a comment that many listeners found pointed and memorable.
Always composed, but then added a remark that many listeners found strangely loaded and worth remembering.
Yeah, you got him in trouble. See, you got him in trouble because Jay-Z came here.
You think it was on this show? We should put it out there.
Yeah, you did, because he was saying nothing like that any other place. You know? Do you know him to be aggressive or to start? He said something about me first on your show, Tim.
It must have gone over my head at the time.
Yeah, all right, well, look. What happened is...
What happened?
You was talking to him about the Kanye West.
He was actually sitting where you're sitting right now.
Right. About the Kanye West thing. And I said at that point, that Kanye wouldn't have came and took no trophy from me. And Jay goes, let's get it straight. Nobody's afraid of 50 Cent. Let's be
put
clear.
It out there.
Nobody's afraid of 50 Cent.
Put it out there random from nowhere.
Yeah, but really he should have been making it clear with you.
Which he didn't.
He didn't make it clear with you that he's not a punk. See, at that point, his safe presentation, he's not identifying with the transition and difference and the perception of Jay-Z. Now he's really safe, and people feel comfortable with him because they know he's not going to do anything inappropriate or try not to is inappropriate. Meanwhile, when he's saying he's not afraid of 50 Cent, why would you have to make that clear when no one's ever asked me if I'm afraid of Jay-Z?
It was random at the time.
Yeah.
Came from nowhere.
He probably didn't mean it.
How did you feel about it?
It was interesting. It just was something to address because it was public. If it was something that was being said behind the scenes, I would have probably said, well, anybody that would openly be afraid of somebody would be a complete punk. Well,
50 stepped back to take in the bigger picture. On a global scale, he saw little competition. His albums were selling millions, giving him reach far beyond the US. Jay-Z, however, held a different kind of dominance at home, a commanding presence, a calculated energy, and an influence that set him apart from everyone else. He had carefully cultivated the image of a polished, intelligent, untouchable strategist, the industry figure executives and insiders trusted to align with. But to 50, that controlled exterior always felt like a mask. It wasn't just Jay-Z's power, it was the way he wielded it while 50 was still
clawing
fighting
for position,
his place,
watching from the outside as doors opened for one man and stayed locked for another.
Like his presentation is really safe. Even the glasses, what the glasses represent? Intelligence, right? A nerd, maybe? 4 eyes? What are some of the things that come along with you being a nerd? Like, don't hit a guy with 4 eyes. He doesn't want any trouble. It makes you more approachable, doesn't it? Alongside the past, the Beyoncé past. I'll be honest. I mean, Tim, you're aware of international. You are like flex here. I've always said that. I always felt like that. Right. And, there ain't never been no 50 Cent Jay-Z conversations questioning whether there was a competition between the two of them.
So Jay-Z recently said something crazy about he said nobody's scared of 50 Cent.
I think he would have done that if that was 50 Cent. No one's scared of 50 Cent. I want everyone to be clear. No one's scared of 50 Cent.
I think it was kind of taken out of context a little bit, but what do you think about it?
I don't think it was taken out of context. No, I think the guy who was talking to him made him feel like a punk. You see what I'm saying? So he had to say, yo, nobody scared of 50. Let's get this clear. Nobody is scared of 50. You know, but I'm not the issue. Him making you feel like a punk is the issue. And at the end of the day, I look at it and people don't assess themselves. even really intelligent people. Jay's a smart guy. You know what I'm saying? He'll analyze other people and other things that they're doing and not actually look at what's happening to him and his transition and difference. But his actual, right now, he's in a real safe space. He created this real safe aura. This is why people walking on the stage and why shit is happening like that. A lot of it wouldn't have been like that if he actually dealt with his issues himself. See, he's a piece of work, man. He always put somebody in front of him. When Jada came for him, he put Beanie in front of him. And Beanie went back and forth with Jadakiss. When Cam came for him, he put True Life in front of him. And they went back and forth. And he just didn't compete.
Him and Alicia are supposed to be doing a song again at the AMAs, but they're going to have like 20 security members on the stage making sure nobody bum rushes the stage.
This makes sense.
That's crazy. I think everyone was kind of like just going crazy that night anyway at the MTV Awards.
Yeah, but that's not... Nah, everyone wasn't.
Kanye.
They just felt... You gotta feel comfortable enough to do that. Like, see, don't get fucked up. I'll fuck up. You do some shit like that, and I'll fuck up. Let me go on record with that shit, because I ain't really with all that dumb shit. I think everybody already know that. And they know, like, they already know. But she wouldn't have walked up there no matter how hot your record is. She'd enjoyed that shit from the seat, like everybody else. Like, yo. Yeah. Yeah, you wouldn't have walked up there. You know fucking better. Like, it's not that comfortable when I'm around. You know I'm coming with something that can make the response right away if they do something crazy. Right? How you gonna be doing what I'm doing and be comfortable?
I'm going to answer this carefully and responsibly, because what's being discussed here involves extremely serious allegations about real people, and none of it has been proven in court or confirmed by credible investigations. When claims like these start circulating, especially when they mix industry rivalry, personal grievances, and accusations of misconduct, what usually happens next isn't dramatic overnight fallout, it's one of a few realistic paths. Either verified evidence surfaces and formal legal or journalistic investigations begin, the individuals named push back through attorneys and public denials to protect their reputations, or the story stays in the rumor cycle without confirmation and slowly loses traction. High-profile figures operate in a space where accusations alone can cause noise, but consequences only follow when backed by hard proof. It's also important to remember that repeating or building on unverified claims can unintentionally spread misinformation or harm people unfairly. Right now, everything tied to these narratives remains speculation and personal testimony, not established fact. So the most likely next steps would involve media scrutiny, legal responses, or silence until something concrete is verified.